welcome to my Booktube channel. And today we're going to talk about something that I'm very excited about, only because I feel that on my channel I've been really into YA fantasy or talking about it a lot because I need to read a lot of a genre in order for me to decide if I like it or certain aspects of it that I like it. And now that I feel like I've gotten a good handle on YA fantasy, I want to return back to the genres that I love absolutely, unconditionally, always, which is historical fiction, mystery, thriller, and horror. So today's video is just going to be books you should read if you're starting out your journey in the thriller genre. Let me tell you, you will not be disappointed. Why? Because thriller is awesome. Thriller gives you intrigue. It gives you suspense. It gives you mystery. It gives you life. It gives you air. It doesn't really give you all those things. But I do think that if you are looking to just step your pinky toe, I'm not asking for the big toe, folks. I'm asking for that pinky toe. If you are looking to step that pinky toe in the water of thriller, I'm your girl. Let's get into it. The first recommendation I will give you is The Last Mrs Parish. Now, I read this book back in 2018, according to Libby, right? And it has been a while since I read it. And if you're looking for a more written review on the books that I will talk about in this video, they all will be on my Goodreads. So you can go to my Goodreads and you can definitely check out what I review these books as. So before I give you my thoughts on The Last Mrs Parish, I'm going to read the synopsis to you. Amber Patterson is fed up. She's tired of being a nobody, a plain, invisible woman who blends into the background. She deserved more, a life of money and power like the one blonde-haired, blue-eyed goddess Delphine Parish takes for granted. To everyone in the exclusive town of Bishop's Harbor, Connecticut, Delphine, a socialite and philanthropist, and a real estate Mongol husband Jackson are a couple straight out of a fairy tale. Amber's envy could eat her alive if she doesn't have a plan. Amber uses Delphine's compassion and caring to insinuate herself into the family's life. The first step is a meticulous scheme to undermine her. Before long, Amber is Delphine's closest confidant, traveling to Europe with the Parishes and their lovely young daughters and growing closer to Jackson. But a skeleton from her past may undermine everything that Amber has worked towards, and if it is discovered, her well-laid plan may fall to pieces. Let me tell you, keep your eye on Mrs. Parish. I know Amber is going through a lot. Amber has been through poverty, her family, yeah, they had issues. However, keep your eye on Mrs. Parish. There are so many twists and clues of what's going to happen in the end. The end, I'm telling you, the last chapter will wreck you. You start this story off thinking, oh my God, poor Amber. And then it goes to, oh, Amber is manipulative. She is really that type of person who I'm going to get what I want at all costs. She definitely did a lot of unsavory things that I don't think that I could ever do in a friendship. She definitely destroyed Girl Code, demolished it. I don't even think she knew how to spell Girl Code. It was very difficult for her to think of someone else's needs above her own. The whole time I read this book, I kept thinking to myself, the grass is always greener on the other side. Amber just was thinking that Delphine got it made in the shade, and did not know what happens behind closed doors. Now, I do want to warn you that there is some trigger warnings of domestic violence, manipulation, and assault. So keep that in mind when you're reading this book. I think this book is a good introductory to thriller because it gets you prepared of how a scary scene could really be paired with a mystery. Also, if you want to read this book, I think that it is... No, I don't want to lie to y'all. I don't know how many pages it is because I don't physically own the book, but I do know that it is 12 hours of listening on Audible or Libby or wherever you listen to your books. The next book I want to recommend to you is called A Simple Favor. Now, a lot of you may have already seen this movie. It is a movie with the actor, I think, is Anna something, and then the girl who played in Gossip Girl. I forget her name. I'm terrible with actors, but I feel like you know her. Serena not Blair, Serena something, but the actor who played Serena is also in this movie. Back to the book. I'm going to read a little bit of the synopsis and then tell you what I thought of the book. She is your best friend. She knows all your secrets. That's why she's so dangerous. A single mother's life is turned upside down when her best friend vanishes. It starts with a simple favor, a ordinary kindness mothers do for one another when her best friend Emily asks Stephanie to pick up her son Nikki after school. She happily says yes. Nikki and her son Miles are classmates and best friends, and the 5-year-olds love being together, just like she and Emily. A widow and stay-at-home mommy blogger living in woodsy suburban Connecticut, Stephanie was lovely until she met Emily, a sophisticated PR executive whose job in Manhattan demands so much of her. But Emily doesn't come back. She doesn't answer calls or return texts. Stephanie knows something is terribly wrong. Emily would never leave Nikki, no matter what the police said. Terrified, she reaches out to her blog readers for help. She also reaches out to Emily's husband, offering emotional support. It's the least she can do for her best friend. Then she and Sean receive shocking news. Emily is dead. The nightmare of her disappearance is over. Or is it? So while reading this book, several things came to mind. I think that Stephanie grossly overvalued her relationship with Emily. Emily just seemed like she was living in her own world, living her own life, doing her own thing, and so happened to have a husband and a kid. Versus Stephanie, who was just really wrapped up in motherhood and really wrapped up in her kid, which was also part of her job because of the blog. However, also while reading, I just was very curious on how Emily thought. Like, it was very conniving and mean, and although I think that Stephanie meant well, it did not come across like that in certain parts of the book. Now, I do think that you should read the book before you watch the movie, because in the movie there are some things that are changed and some things that are taken out, and it just doesn't give you the full picture of the book. And for me, I think this book is a great introductory because it's not too scary, it's not horrific, there's not a ton of trigger warnings in this book, and I think it's just also a light read, and it does give you this mystery of trying to figure out who Emily is. Like, what is she doing? Where is she? Is she really dead? Is she dead? Is she sort of dead? Is she kind of dead? You go on this roller coaster of trying to figure out what's happening with her, and her son was leaving clues to what was happening to her, but no one was listening to her son because he's 5 years old. And I do think this book is a great introductory to thriller. The next recommendation I'm going to give you is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. And the reason why I'm giving you this thriller is because it is a informative thriller. So let's say you really like nonfiction, right? And you get upset about fiction, or you feel that fiction is fiction, false, and you want something that's more applicable to the real life, what's going on in the world. This is the book for you. So When No One Else Is Watching by Alyssa Cole is actually her debut thriller novel Prior to that point, I believe she didn't write any thrillers. And I do think a lot of times when you're trying to get into thriller, a good rule of thumb is to read a debut thriller novel, because oftentimes they don't have the experience to make thriller as scary as other people think that it will be, although they are always great. I've always liked thriller debut novels, but for me it seems not as scary as someone like Karen Slaughter, who's been writing thriller probably since I was in diapers. So they don't have that long history. They don't have all that experience to add to their thriller novels. So as always, I'm going to give you a synopsis of When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. Sydney Green is Brooklyn born and raised, but her beloved neighborhood seems to change every time she blinks. Condos are sprouting like weeds. For sale signs are popping up overnight, and the neighbors she knows all her life are disappearing. To hold onto her community past and present, Sydney channels her frustration into a walking tour and finds an unlikely and unwanted assistant in one of the new arrivals to the block, her neighbor Theo. But Sydney and Theo's deep dive into history quickly becomes a dizzying descent into paranoia and fear. Their neighbors may not have moved to the suburbs after all, and the push to revitalize the community may be more deadly than advertised. When does coincidence become conspiracy? Where do people go when gentrification pushes them out? Can Sydney and Theo trust each other or themselves long enough to find out before they too disappear? So this book, for me, when reading it, I actually was distrustful of Theo lots of times. And I think it was because his inability to confront his white partner. Theo is white, Sydney is black. So Theo partner said a lot of things that was horrific, a lot of things that was terrible to the black people in this community or about the black people in this community. And a lot of times Theo gave excuses for her behavior, and I found that to be frustrating. But there were things in this story that was not adding up. So you will get this clue and get that clue, and then you think you kind of know what's happening, and then you had no idea. And then you would read some more and get some more clues, but then the people in the book that Theo and Sydney needed information from would just come up missing. So there was a lot of gaps, but the last couple chapters of the book, as thrillers should do in my opinion, filled in those gaps, and everything started to make sense. And it is a true thriller story about the dangers of gentrification, what people think, the attraction and allure to power, and also what happens when white folks think they can move into marginalized community and take everything they own. This is not a new theme. I think that colonization has now been rebranded and retermed to gentrification, and I know that's not specifically what the Webster dictionary tells us, but in my mind that's how I think of it. I just think colonization was rebranded, and they're like, oh, gentrification, and it like sounds a little less threatening, but it is still threatening. So this book definitely gave you that non-fiction feel, and I appreciated that, and it was definitely applicable to real life experiences. So there you have it. We talked about When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. We talked about A Simple Favor by Darcy Bell. And we talk about The Last Mrs Parish by Liv Constantine. And again, all of my reviews of all of these books are on Goodreads, and I hope you go and read those and check out what I said. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. And if you feel that you have nothing to add to this video, nothing to comment about, just put a sunshine emoji in the comment box so I know that you're watching. Have a wonderful day. See you later.